The morning sun slanted through the kitchen blinds, painting golden stripes across the oak table where I sat, nursing a mug of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. The house was quiet, save for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the occasional chirp of a sparrow outside. Emily, my wife of 12 years, had left for her yoga class at dawn, her usual Saturday routine. I'd kissed her goodbye, her lips soft and warm, her lavender shampoo lingering in the air, as she slipped out the door with her rolled-up mat and a quick, "Love you, Ben." It was a ritual, one of those small, dependable moments that stitched our life together. Or so I thought. I'm Benjamin Carver, 38, a high school history teacher with a penchant for historical novels, and a quiet life in our Portland suburb. Emily, 35, runs her own boutique downtown, curating artisanal candles and handwoven scarves for people with more money than sense. We met in college, bonded over late-night debates about existentialism and cheap wine, and built a life that felt, if not perfect, then at least ours. 2 miscarriages had left us childless, a wound we'd learned to carry together, though it never fully healed. We had our routines, our inside jokes, our shared dreams of a cabin in the Cascades someday. I trusted her. I trusted us. But that morning something felt off. Not a seismic shift, just a faint tremor, like the first crack in a windshield you tell yourself isn't a big deal. I'd woken up to find her phone on the nightstand, which was unusual. She never left it behind. Emily was glued to that thing, texting clients, scrolling through Instagram, managing her shop's online presence. I didn't snoop, never had. But the phone buzzed, a single vibration that seemed louder in the silent bedroom than it should have. I ignored it. Then it buzzed again, and again. I picked it up not to pry, but to see if it was something urgent. A client, maybe, or her mother who'd been having health issues. The screen lit up with notifications. 3 texts from a contact labeled J. No last name, just the initial. The preview showed fragments. Last night was, and can't stop thinking, and when can we? My stomach twisted, a slow, cold churn. I put the phone down, my hands unsteady. It wasn't proof of anything, I told myself. A misunderstanding. A client with a boundary issue. Emily would laugh when I asked her, would roll her eyes and say, "Ben, you're being ridiculous." But I didn't wait for her to come home. I typed in her passcode, our anniversary, 0413, and opened the messages. My chest tightened as I scrolled. The words hit like shrapnel. "You're incredible. Miss your hands. Same time tomorrow?" There were photos, too, nothing explicit but intimate. Her smile, the one I thought was mine, beamed at someone else. A selfie of her in a hotel room, hair mussed, wearing a silk camisole I'd bought her for our 10th anniversary. The timestamps stretched back months. A timeline of deceit woven into our daily life. While I graded papers, while I cooked her favorite pasta, while I held her at night, she'd been elsewhere. I sat on our bed, the phone heavy in my hand, and tried to breathe. My mind raced, piecing together moments I'd overlooked. Her late nights at the shop. The sudden interest in yoga, which she'd never cared about before. The way she'd started locking her phone when she showered. I'd been blind, not because I was stupid, but because I loved her. Love makes you trust. Love makes you a fool. I didn't cry. Not then. Instead, I felt a strange, hollow calm, like the air before a storm. I put the phone back exactly where I'd found it and went downstairs to make another pot of coffee. I needed to think. Who was Jay? The initial didn't match anyone I knew. A client? A friend? Someone from her yoga class? I replayed our conversations, searching for a clue, but came up empty. All I had were those texts, burning into my memory like acid. Emily came home around 10, her cheeks flushed, her hair damp from a post-yoga shower at the studio. She dropped her mat by the door and kissed my cheek, her lips cool now. "Morning, babe," she said, pouring herself a glass of water. "How's your day going?" "Fine." I lied, my voice steady. "Just grading some essays." "How was yoga?" "Great," she said, too quickly. "Tough class, though." "I'm beat." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I watched her move around the kitchen, opening the fridge, pulling out yogurt, Every motion so familiar yet suddenly alien. Was this the woman I'd married? Or had she been replaced by someone I didn't know? I wanted to confront her, to slam the phone on the table and demand answers. But I didn't. Not yet. I needed to know more. I needed to be sure. And, if I'm honest, I was afraid. Afraid of what she'd say, of what it would mean for us. So I played along, nodding as she chatted about her day, about a new shipment of candles, about dinner plans. All the while, my mind churned, plotting my next move. That afternoon, while she was in the shower, I checked her phone again. The messages from Jay were gone. Deleted. My heart sank, not because I doubted what I'd seen, but because she was covering her tracks. She knew how to hide. I opened her email, her calendar, her social media. Nothing obvious. But then I found a recurring event in her calendar, buried under shop admin. Every Thursday, 7 p.m. Meeting. No location, no details. I cross-referenced the dates with the texts I'd seen. They matched. I started paying attention. Over the next week, I became a detective in my own marriage. I noted her moods, her excuses, her absences. Thursday came, and she left at 6:30, claiming a late delivery at the shop. I didn't follow her, not yet, but I drove by the shop at 8. The lights were off, the door locked. She wasn't there. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in my study, staring at a photo of us from our honeymoon in Santorini, her laughter frozen in time. I felt like I was unraveling, thread by thread, but I couldn't stop. I needed to know who Jay was. I needed to see it for myself. The following Thursday, I was ready. I told Emily I had a department meeting after school, a lie that rolled off my tongue too easily. She kissed me goodbye, her lavender scent now a mockery, and left for her meeting. I waited 10 minutes, then followed her, keeping my distance in my old Subaru. Her car wound through downtown, past her shop, to a boutique hotel on the riverfront. My pulse hammered as I watched her park, check her reflection in the mirror, and walk inside, her hips swaying in a dress I didn't recognize. I parked across the street, my hands gripping the wheel. Part of me wanted to storm in to catch her in the act, but I stayed put. Minutes ticked by, each one a blade. Then I saw him. A man, maybe 40, tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair and a confident stride. He entered the hotel, glancing at his phone. I didn't know his name, but I knew. It was Jay. I sat there for 2 hours, my mind a storm of rage and grief. When Emily emerged, her hair loose, her face flushed, she looked happy, happier than I'd seen her in months. The man followed a minute later, and they parted without a glance, a practiced routine. I drove home before her, my knuckles white, my heart a ruin. That night, as she slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling, my calm replaced by something darker. I didn't want to confront her anymore. I didn't want explanations or apologies. I wanted her to hurt the way I hurt. I wanted her to lose something precious, the way she'd stolen my trust, my peace, my life. Revenge wasn't a word I'd ever used before, but it fit now, sharp and cold. I started planning. Not a shouting match, not a divorce filing. Something deeper, something that would unravel her the way she'd unraveled me. I didn't know what it would look like yet, but I knew it would be precise, cruel, final. I'd find out who Jay was. I'd learn their secrets, and then I'd use them not to rebuild my life, but to destroy theirs. As I lay there, listening to her soft breathing, I felt like a stranger in my own skin. The man who'd loved her, who'd trusted her, was gone. In his place was someone new, someone who understood betrayal, who knew its weight, and who would wield it like a weapon. The days after I saw Emily at the hotel with Jay passed in a haze, each one a tightrope walk between pretense and obsession. I went to work, taught my classes, graded papers, and smiled at my students, all while carrying a molten core of rage that threatened to spill over. At home, I played the dutiful husband, cooking dinner, asking about her day, even kissing her goodnight. But every touch, every word was a lie. I wasn't Ben anymore, not the Ben she knew. I was a shadow, watching, waiting, weaving a plan that grew sharper with each passing hour. Emily didn't suspect a thing. She moved through our life with the same ease, her laughter light, her excuses seamless. Thursday nights remained her meetings, and I let her go, no longer following her to the hotel. I didn't need to. I'd seen enough to know the truth, and now my focus was on uncovering the details. Who Jay was, what he meant to her, and how I could use their affair to dismantle her world. I wasn't impulsive. I didn't want a quick outburst or a messy confrontation. I wanted something that would linger, something that would make her feel the same hollow betrayal I carried. The first step was identifying Jay. I started small, combing through Emily's life for clues. Her phone was a dead end now. She'd become meticulous, deleting texts, locking apps, clearing her history. But she wasn't as careful with her laptop, which she left open on the kitchen counter most mornings. One Sunday, while she was at yoga, I sat down with a fresh cup of coffee and opened her browser. I checked her email, her social media, her shop's website, looking for anything, a name, a hint, a connection. Nothing stood out until I found a folder in her cloud storage labeled Miscellaneous. Buried inside was a PDF, a receipt for a hotel stay dated 3 months back, the same hotel I'd seen her at. The reservation was under her name, but there was a note. Split with J. Morgan. J. Morgan. My pulse quickened. A name finally. I opened a new tab and searched J. Morgan Portland. The results were overwhelming, too many people, too vague. I narrowed it down. J. Morgan Portland, Oregon professional. LinkedIn popped up, and there he was. Second result. James Morgan, 42, real estate developer, owner of Morgan Properties. His profile photo matched the man I'd seen at the hotel. Dark hair, sharp jaw, a smile that screamed confidence. I clicked through his page, memorizing details. University of Oregon grad, based in Portland, specializes in luxury condos, married, 2 kids. Married. The irony wasn't lost on me. I dug deeper, cross-referencing his name with Emily's world. Her boutique had hosted a pop-up event last spring with local businesses, including a real estate firm. I found the event page on her shop's Instagram, scrolled through photos, and there it was. Emily, beaming, shaking hands with James Morgan at a ribbon cutting. The caption thanked Morgan Properties for their generous sponsorship. That was the connection. They'd met through work, and somewhere between handshakes and small talk, they'd crossed a line. I leaned back, my coffee cold again, and let the pieces settle. James Morgan wasn't just a fling. The texts I'd seen, the hotel receipts, the months of lies, they pointed to something deeper, something that had grown roots while I was grading essays and planning our future. The thought made my chest ache, not with sadness now, but with a cold, focused fury. Emily hadn't just betrayed me. She'd built a second life, one where I didn't exist. And James Morgan, with his perfect smile and perfect life, was her partner in it. I didn't stop there. Over the next week, I became a ghost in my own life, dedicating every spare moment to research. I followed James online, mapping his world. His firm's website listed projects, high-end condos, waterfront developments, a new hotel downtown. I found his personal Instagram, private but linked to his wife, Claire Morgan, whose account was public. Claire was blonde, elegant, a former interior designer turned stay-at-home mom. Her posts were a curated gallery of family vacations, charity galas, and yoga retreats. Their kids, a boy and a girl, looked like they'd stepped out of a catalog. The Morgans were Portland's golden couple, and James was risking it all for my wife. I also watched Emily more closely, not just her lies but her habits. She was careful but not flawless. One night, while she slept, I found a burner phone tucked in her yoga bag, a cheap flip phone with no lock. There were texts to a single number, no name saved. Miss you already? Thursday can't come soon enough. You make me feel alive. My hands shook as I read them, not from shock but from the clarity they brought. This wasn't a mistake. This was a choice repeated over and over. I started tailing James, too. Not every day, just enough to learn his patterns. He left his office downtown most evenings around 6, drove a sleek black Audi to a gym near the river, then home to his gated community in Lake Oswego. Once, I saw him at a coffee shop, laughing with a colleague, his wedding ring glinting under the lights. He looked so normal, so untouched by the wreckage he'd caused. I hated him not just for what he'd done, but for how easily he carried it. As I gathered information, my plan took shape. Confronting Emily or James would be too simple, too fleeting. I wanted something that would unravel them both, something that would expose their lies and leave them with nothing. I thought about Claire, James's wife. She was the key. If she knew, if she saw the truth, their perfect life would collapse. And Emily. Her boutique thrived on her reputation, her charm, her image as the perfect small business owner. What would happen if that image shattered? If her clients, her friends, her world saw her for what she was? I started small, testing the waters. I created an anonymous email account and sent Claire a vague message. You deserve to know the truth about your husband. He's not who you think. I didn't expect a reply, and I didn't get one, but I knew the seed was planted. I also began collecting evidence, screenshots of the burner phone texts, the hotel receipt, even a photo I'd snapped of Emily and James leaving the hotel, their faces clear in the streetlight. I stored it all in a hidden folder on my laptop, labeled taxes. A bitter joke to myself. But evidence wasn't enough. I needed to hit them where it hurt most. For James, it was his family, his status, his empire. For Emily, it was her shop, her identity, the life she'd curated so carefully. I started researching her business, digging into her finances. The boutique was successful, but barely. She relied on a small business loan and a line of credit to stay afloat. A scandal, a dip in sales, could tip her over the edge. I also learned that Morgan Properties was bidding on a massive waterfront project, a deal that could make or break James's career. Public scrutiny, even a hint of impropriety, could jeopardize it. I spent hours at night, after Emily slept, sketching out scenarios. I could leak the affair to Claire anonymously with photos, texts, proof. I could send the same to Emily's clients, her Instagram followers, the local business community. I could tip off a journalist about James's affair, framing it as a conflict of interest with his sponsorship of Emily's shop. Each idea felt sharper, more precise, but I wasn't ready to act. Not yet. I needed to be sure to cover my tracks to make it untraceable. The hardest part was living with her. Every morning, she'd kiss me, her lavender scent now a poison. Every night, she'd curl against me, her breathing soft, while I lay awake, plotting. I didn't hate her, not exactly. I hated what she'd done, what she'd made me become. I missed the woman I'd married, the one who'd laughed at my terrible puns, who'd held my hand through our losses. But that woman was gone, replaced by a stranger who'd chosen someone else. One Thursday, I broke. I drove to the hotel, parked across the street, and watched them arrive. Emily first, then James, their routine unchanged. I didn't stay long. Instead, I drove to Emily's shop, dark and empty, and sat in the parking lot. I imagined it shuttered, her name tarnished, her dreams in ashes. Then I drove to Lake Oswego, past the Morgan's house, its lights warm, Claire probably inside, oblivious. I imagined her reading my email, her face crumpling, her world collapsing. Felt right. By the end of the month, I had a plan. It wasn't just revenge. It was justice, a reckoning for the life they'd stolen from me. I'd expose them, not with a shout, but with a whisper, letting their own lies destroy them. I'd start with Claire, then Emily's clients, then James's business partners. I'd time it perfectly, a domino effect that would leave them both with nothing. And I'd watch, not from the sidelines, but from the center, the husband who'd been betrayed, the man who'd survived. I went home that night and cooked dinner, a lasagna, Emily's favorite. She came home late, her cheeks flushed, her lies as smooth as ever. We ate together and I smiled, asked about her day, poured her wine. She didn't notice the change in me, the edge in my eyes. She didn't know that the man across the table was no longer her husband, but her judge. The plan was a machine, each part polished and precise, built over weeks of sleepless nights and careful steps. I'd become someone I didn't recognize, a man who smiled at his wife while plotting her ruin, who shook hands with colleagues while carrying a secret that burned like acid. But I didn't falter. Emily and James had taken my life, my trust, my future, and I was going to take theirs. Not with violence or shouting matches, but with something far worse. The truth wielded like a blade. I started with Claire Morgan, James's wife. She was the fulcrum, the one whose reaction would set everything in motion. I'd already sent her the anonymous email, a seed planted weeks ago, but now it was time to water it. I created a burner account on a secure server, untraceable, and compiled a dossier, screenshots of the burner phone texts between Emily and James, the hotel receipt, the photo of them leaving the hotel, their faces clear in the streetlight. I added a note, typed in a cold, neutral tone. Your husband has been unfaithful with Emily Carver for months. They meet every Thursday at the Riverfront Hotel. You deserve to know. I attached the files, hit send, and deleted the account. It was done in under 10 minutes, from a coffee shop Wi-Fi on the other side of town. My hoodie up, my face hidden from cameras. I didn't expect a reply, and I didn't get one. But I knew Claire had seen it. 2 days later, while scrolling through her Instagram from a dummy account, I noticed she'd stopped posting. No more yoga poses, no more family brunches, just silence. It was a crack in their perfect facade, the first sign my plan was working. I imagined her confronting James, his denials crumbling under the weight of evidence. I imagined her tears, her anger, her world tilting. It wasn't enough, not yet, but it was a start. Next, I turned to Emily's boutique. Her shop, Lavender and Loom, was her pride, her identity, the heart of her carefully curated life. It was also her vulnerability. I'd learned from her laptop that she was barely keeping it afloat, relying on a small business loan and a line of credit. A drop in sales, a tarnished reputation, could push her over the edge. I didn't want to destroy the shop outright, that was too blunt. I wanted her to watch it unravel, to feel the slow bleed of everything she'd built. I started with her clients. Emily's customer base was loyal but small, mostly affluent women who shopped for her artisanal candles and hand-woven scarves because they loved her story. The independent woman, the local entrepreneur, the perfect wife. I created another anonymous account, this time on a local business forum, and posted a vague but damning review. Disappointed to learn the owner of Lavender and Loom isn't as genuine as she seems. Heard she's been dishonest in her personal life, which makes me question her business ethics. I seeded similar comments on Yelp, Google reviews, and a Portland small business Facebook group, careful to vary the wording and timing. I didn't mention the affair directly, just enough to spark curiosity, to plant doubts. The ripple effect was subtle but immediate. Within a week, I noticed fewer likes on her shop's Instagram posts, fewer comments from her usual cheerleaders. At dinner one night, Emily mentioned a client had canceled a bulk order for a wedding. Her voice tight, her smile forced. It's just a slow month, she said, but I saw the worry in her eyes. I nodded, refilled her wine, and said nothing. Inside, I felt a cold satisfaction, like a chess player watching their opponent's pieces fall. But I wasn't done with Emily. I wanted her to face her betrayal, to see it reflected back at her. I waited for the perfect moment. A Thursday, of course, when she came home late, her cheeks flushed, her lavender scent mixed with something unfamiliar, something that wasn't mine. I'd cooked dinner, a roast chicken, and set the table with candles, a cruel echo of our early years. She was surprised, even touched, and for a moment, I saw the woman I'd loved, the one who'd laughed at my terrible jokes, who'd dreamed with me. But she was gone, buried under her lies. After dinner, I poured her another glass of wine and said, casually, I found something interesting today. Her smile faltered, just for a second, but I caught it. I pulled out my phone, opened a photo I'd saved. Not the one of her and James, but a screenshot of a hotel receipt, the one from her cloud storage. I slid the phone across the table. Care to explain this? Her face drained of color. She stared at the screen, her mouth opening, then closing. Ben, it's not what you think, she stammered. It was a business meeting, a client. Stop, I said, my voice low, steady. Don't lie to me anymore, Emily. I know about James Morgan. I know about the hotel. I know about Thursday nights. She froze, her hands trembling around her wine glass. For the first time in months, I saw her, really saw her. Not as my wife, but as a stranger caught exposed. "Ben, please," she whispered, tears welling. "It was a mistake. I didn't mean for it to happen. I love you." I laughed, a sound so bitter it surprised me. "Love? You don't know what that word means." I leaned forward, my eyes locked on hers. "I've seen the texts, Emily. I've seen you with him. You didn't just betray me. You built a whole life behind my back." She cried then, sobs that might have broken me once but now only fueled my resolve. She begged, apologized, promised to end it, to fix us. But I didn't want her promises. I wanted her to hurt, to carry the weight of her choices. "You don't get to fix this," I said. "You broke it, and now you're going to live with it." I didn't tell her about my plan, about Claire, about the reviews, about what was coming. I wanted her to discover it piece by piece, to feel the ground shift beneath her. I stood, left her crying at the table, and went to my study. That night, I slept on the couch, her sobs echoing through the house. I didn't feel guilt, only a strange, hollow triumph. The final piece was James's career. Morgan Properties was bidding on a waterfront development, a $200 million project that could cement his legacy. I'd learned from public records that the city council was reviewing bids, sensitive to any hint of scandal. I created a third anonymous account and sent a tip to a local journalist known for digging into real estate deals. "Check into James Morgan's personal conduct. He's been involved with a married woman, Emily Carver, whose business he sponsors. Could be a conflict of interest." I included the same dossier I'd sent Claire, minus the personal details, and suggested they look into the hotel receipts. I didn't expect a front-page exposé, but I didn't need one. The journalist followed up, asking questions at a city council meeting. Word spread, as it always does in Portland's tight-knit business community. Within days, Morgan Properties was under scrutiny, not just for the bid but for its sponsorships, including Emily's shop. James's name appeared in a blog post, vague but pointed, and the whispers grew louder. The fallout was swift. Emily's shop saw more cancellations, her Instagram followers dropping by the hundreds. She stopped going to yoga, stopped smiling, stopped pretending. At home, she was a ghost, her eyes red, her voice hollow. "People are talking," she said one night, staring at her untouched dinner. "They're saying things about me, about the shop. I don't know how it started." I shrugged, said nothing, and let her drown in it. Claire filed for divorce a week later. I saw it in a court filing online, a small victory that felt like a fire in my chest. James's perfect life was crumbling. His kids caught in the wreckage, his empire teetering. I imagined him alone, his confidence shattered, his lies laid bare. I hoped he thought of Emily, of what they'd done, every time he looked in the mirror. I moved out the next month, to a small apartment near my school. Emily didn't fight it. She didn't have the strength. Her shop closed 6 weeks later, the lease unpaid, the shelves empty. I heard she moved to Seattle, to live with her sister, her reputation in ashes. James lost the waterfront bid and Morgan Properties scaled back, his name no longer golden. I didn't follow their lives after that. I didn't need to. I'd done what I set out to do. I'm not proud of it, not exactly. I didn't rebuild my life, didn't find peace or closure. I live alone now, teaching history, reading novels, carrying the weight of what I've done. But I don't regret it. Emily and James took something from me, something I'll never get back. And I took something from them, too. Not their lives, but their illusions, their lies, their futures. They betrayed me and I made them pay. In the end, that's all I wanted. For them to feel the cold, hollow ache I carry every day.